basically wherever we looked, across video, books, music, video games, that there was more people were spending more money was going into the industry, more creativity was coming out of the industry, and so in terms of, in general, they continue to go up, at different rates and different amounts in different countries, but almost everywhere we looked, we saw more revenue being spent. Also, there are different tools online that, when used very well, can actually bring in a lot of revenue. So there are things like crowdfunding. People are using tools like Kickstarter to raise money now, whereas they wouldn't have been able to in the past. There are tools like Bandcamp and Topspin and TuneCore, which make it very easy for an artist to go out and sell their music online, digitally. In some cases, you can even sell physically through that. So there are these wonderful tools that are allowing artists to take control of their career so that they can go out and sell things. There are challenges for them, right? Any industry that's in transition, there are going to be challenges, and they have to adjust. There have been employment changes in those industries, but I think that there's a place for them in that industry. It's just in a different role to it. Whereas now, the role is more of helping, of being a participant in the process. So, those players, the traditional players, still have tremendous marketing ability, which is still very, very important. They have tremendous reach. They have, especially if you're talking about trying to take someone from a certain location and going internationally, having the support of that is really, really helpful. The thing that has to happen, and is for them to recognize that, their role is not to take over everything, but to work collaboratively with the artist in order to do something interesting. As an example of that, this is on the movie side, but similar kind of things are happening now all the time. There was just, there's the famous crowdfunding platform Kickstarter, right, which people use to fund all different things. And on the movie side, it had mostly been independent movies that, had no financing from somewhere else. But just recently, there was a Kickstarter campaign for a movie, Veronica Mars, which was a TV show in the U.S. I don't know if it was internationally, but it had a very loyal following, but not a very big following. So the TV show was canceled, but the fans of the show really wanted to see it continue, and they were asking over and over again, "Can we have a movie? Can we have a movie? Can we have a movie?" And Warner Brothers, the big Hollywood studio, kept saying, not enough people liked it, not enough people liked the TV show, so we won't do it. And finally, the producer of the TV show talked to Warner Brothers, and they worked out an agreement where they would put the idea for a movie, for a Veronica Mars movie, onto Kickstarter. And if they could raise $2 million, that would, one, bring in $2 million, but also convince Warner Brothers that there was enough of a fan base who want this movie made to get it to be made. And so they put it up, and I think they got $2 million within one day, 24 hours. And by the end of the project, they'd raised over $4.5 million. And that, that's a great example of, that's a traditional, big Hollywood movie studio learning how to use these platforms also. I am a skeptic of the process by which the Special 301 report gets made. One of my concerns with sort of the methodology for how the report is put together is that there's no clear process, there's no clear rules in terms of which countries get listed, and there are a couple different categories, but which countries get listed. So much of it seems to be driven by certain companies or certain industry associations will say this country is bad. And the USTR effectively will often take that and then just sort of rewrite it and say, we heard that this country is bad, but there's very little done to confirm that the situation is as bad. And so, you could see a situation, and I'm not saying this is necessarily the case, but you could certainly see a situation in which a traditional player that is being disrupted by new tools and new services and new opportunities where they haven't embraced those tools and services, so they are suffering. They could go to to the USTR and present something on the Special 301 report that suggests the situation is worse because it's been bad for them. I think that the Special 301 report itself, the process, is very prone to kind of arbitrary decisions in terms of who gets included and why. For example, if you look at Canada, who's been listed on the Special 301 report many years over, they've sort of taken an official position, which is that we don't, the process, we disagree with the process by which the Special 301 report is put together, so we don't recognize the Special 301 report. And so I think that's actually served Canada pretty well, to be able to sort of stand up and say that, the process by which that report is put together is suspect, and they don't accept the findings. It's not easy for some countries to do, but in general, I think that the impact of that report and the methodology of the report are kind of overstated. There's no way to beat free, right? So if these tools are out there and they're distributing content, then there's no way to tackle that. But that's not true. And actually, if you look at the data and you look at what's happening, when there are really compelling, useful, good, reasonably priced services, they compete very, very well. And so, you look at something like, sort of a great case example of this is in Sweden with music. Okay, so Sweden is where the Pirate Bay started, and there was certainly a fairly large amount of infringement happening in Sweden. And then a couple of years later, Spotify launched in Sweden. It was sort of the first of the major music services there, and very, very successful. Adoption went up very, very quickly, and the amount of infringement of music dropped. I mean, sort of off a cliff. It just went, way down. When you offer that kind of situation where it's much better and much more convenient, people are willing to pay and people are willing to support it.